It really was. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. So the first item on the agenda is the resolution in response to Mr. Rock's presentation last meeting regarding our 250th commission.
Mr. President, I make a motion in accordance with section 42-46-6B to take action on passing the proposed resolution creating the formation of the Richmond 250th Commission.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Done. Next is the consent agenda.
Mr. President, move to accept approval of the consent agendas 1A and 2.
Mr. President, I wanted to pull two.
Okay. So do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay, so is there a specific reason?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention one quick small thing. We are renewing a membership to the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce, and I was just thinking, it may be beneficial when we get a new EDC to see if they'd be interested in continuing that membership or maybe switching to the Southern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce, because we have two that kind of overlap over the town, and this one's is more expensive, and I don't know exactly what we're getting out of it. So I just thought if we could pause that until, you know, we can sign up for this any time of year. So put it on pause until we get some new members.
I don't see where it's done us an incredible amount of good either.
Well, I did reach out to Laura to see if a lot of people use it, and were you able to find out?
We don't know. We've just been paying for the
Okay.
membership, so we're gonna pull the check. For now. And just not have a be a member until somebody tells us otherwise.
Okay.
Okay. So
How much was it?
like $600. It wasn't a major amount, but it wasn't nothing.
Okay, making a motion to stop payment on that.
I was gonna make, well, you have a motion on the floor, so what I would do is make a motion to amend your motion to not include that.
Second.
So now we're voting on the amendment.
Okay. Okay. How do you vote?
Yes.
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 Okay.
On the original motion.
The approval of the town minutes. How do you vote?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Okay. Public forum. We'll invite the public to speak. Sir.
Sure. Appreciate that. I apologize. I wasn't able to attend the last meeting. I'm sorry I don't have my normal enthusiasm tonight. I'd love to razzle dazzle, but it's just, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that. I would be remiss if I did not bring up what I put on the agenda last meeting, which was the volunteer efforts of our officers at Matthew's Wish, Stuff a Cruiser event. It's an annual toy drive to benefit children in our area. It met the needs of every kid that had a desire at RICAN to receive a toy for Christmas. And there's a lot of families that have hardship for a lot of different reasons. We met those needs, and then we were able to give toys additionally outside of that to other areas outside of Charahoe. But the neat thing is we have the Providence Center Women's Facility in Richmond. And these are women that are, working through some problems in their lives. Many of them have children. We're able to meet the needs of those kids as well. This is all born out of Matthew Thayer. He's a remarkable young man. Thank you, Aaron. I didn't ask you to bring the pictures. I appreciate that. So that's Mike Ellis and Matthew Thayer right there. Our host location is Ocean State Job Lot. They could not be more gracious. They actually donated money towards that particular drive that day. Hundreds of toys. We filled 6 cruisers. We had a convoy with public safety that went through town to make the delivery. It is a real good event, and it really does benefit people in this area. So great job by the officers that volunteered that day and those that were partaking in the convoy. The second is Rhode Island Police Chiefs Association came up with an awards committee and made a recommendation for several levels of awards. This is the first time they've ever done it. The association it's over 50 years old. And we nominated 2 officers, Sergeant William Laterio on the right and Patrolman Anthony Mayola, for their swift water rescue in July of that vehicle that overturned. It went off the bridge at Shannock Falls and actually went roof first into the water. It was the river was swollen and the current was raging. A lot of people, even if you have footing and you're chest deep, swept away and you just can't regain. And it was pitch black. It's midnight. So they put themselves at risk. They had to navigate down this heavily vegetated embankment and work to get to the closest point on land they could to get to the victim in the river. As they're trying to get him to cooperate with them and catch a line that they were going to throw, he didn't want to be bothered. He was worried about being in trouble. He was somewhat despondent and wanted to be left in the river to die. These officers encouraged him, listen, you matter. Just do what we tell you. We're going to get you to safety. Threw a line. He caught it. Gave him instructions to tie it around his waist. And when he took his first step towards them, he actually submerged. But because the line was on him, they were able to pull him in with his assistance, got him to safety. I bring that up because if they hadn't acted so decisively, so quickly, these types of events have compounding consequences where you have other first responders that are exposed to danger because when somebody's swept away in a current, they're still going to try to save them. It's a rescue, not a recovery. That was all avoided because of our officers. They just did a fantastic job. The ceremony was really nice. Their families were there to witness this. So great work by those 2 officers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further public statements? And if not, is there anything online? Okay, that being said, we'll move on to appointments and resignations. Oh, I'm sorry, reports. I made the mistake of writing in that already. Karen. I'm sorry.
The first item I have is a request for approval of a contract for construction management services with Northeast Water. They are currently our water operator. Their owner, Bob Ferrari, is a registered professional engineer. He did not design this system, but he's designed these types of systems before. He's got a really good relationship with the Department of Health, which I think is important because we're very candid sometimes there. There's a lot of regulations, let's say that. So his contract would run the whole gamut all the way from reviewing the bid specs all the way through to preparing as-built drawings for us. And I think it would be money well spent to have someone on our behalf.
President, motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion?
What's he doing this for?
How much?
Yeah.
It's $46,640.
You sent that out, right?
There's nothing in the,
It wasn't attached. He had sent it some time ago, and I had asked him to redate it, and I got that today, which we kind of sent it out to you all.
all right, so this didn't go out to bid before then,
No,
so there was no RFP.
no, there was not.
Is that how we normally do something like that with that much
He
money?
is currently our water operator, so he's considered to be what's the word I'm looking for, Karen?
Under state law,
that applies to municipalities. Engineering positions cannot be filled on the basis of cost. They have to be filled on the basis of qualifications.
Pre-qualified, he's on.
Yeah.
that's-
And,
that's
and,
what I was-
and Northeast Water, is a pre-qualified, contractor.
So normally we wouldn't go out for an RFP with this then.
For this kind of work, that's correct. We're not allowed to. We could go out for an RFP for qualifications, but not for sealed bids for price.
But he's already done work for us
He has.
anyway.
Any further discussion? That being said, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
And the second item I have is request for approval of a contract with Rambone for waste hauling. You do have a memo on that in your packet. They've been doing this for us for many years. Actually, the last few years, they've been doing it at a loss. Because of the cost of fuel and all, and they've held their price, even though, you know, it did become a loss for them. They held the price that they agreed to, in this multi-year contract, so. This is just the new three-year contract.
Mr. President,
Yes.
motion to approve the Ramphone disposal contract.
Second.
And further discussion?
So it's $249.97 of all,
Yes,
and that didn't change from the last contract?
the last contract was $179.49 per haul. So it's an additional $70 per haul over last year.
And on average, how many hauls does he make a month?
I do not know off the top of my head. I would have to go back and look at the billing.
I don't know off the top of my head. I know of the rate increase, so I have it in for next year's budget.
Is it in this month's budget approval? I didn't see anything.
No,
No,
not a particular,
No, I think he's referring to the bill list.
yeah,
bill list.
I don't know off the top of my head. It was,
Just take a stab at it.
oh, I don't. I have too many bills. I'm sorry.
Twice a week? What times a week?
I don't know how many calls.
Yeah, I would have to, you'd have to give me a few minutes to look it up, and we can look at the budget if we have to. If you want us to take a minute, we can do that.
Well, if I see the trucks going by, he's going by at least 3 or 4 times a week, at least at a minimum.
And it was a bid. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he is the lowest, he was the lowest that came out, right?
He was actually the one bidder.
Oh,
No, wait a minute, take it back there, might have been two. Nope, he's the only one.
Okay. So
So
questions?
it went out for bid and
Yeah.
nobody bid except them.
I can understand the increase with inflation and tipping charges and whatnot going up at the landfill and whatnot. I don't think that's that much of an increase.
So that being said, how do you vote?
Aye.
I
Aye.
And lastly, I just want, the council to discuss and give me input on how you want to move forward with, the hiring of a solicitor. I did post an RFP, but once those come in, the date on that is Friday. Just looking for whether the council wants to have executive session, to do interviews, looking for some input as to how much input you want.
Well, my personal opinion is we've discussed this before, and we had Joe Arsenal, who was on the Charter Commission, and he did specifically state that quote. Under Home Rule Charter, Article 4B1 says the administrator shall submit a list of qualified candidates, not a recommendation for department directors. And at Councilor Mercedes' request, at the September 19, 2023 meeting, at Richard's request, Joe Arsenal states town council as a whole, not as individuals, has influence in hiring directors. Directors, yes, not local level employees. So just going by what Mr. Arsenal said, I would like to see the administrator forward all the applicants and resumes and discuss setting up an interview process conducted by the town council members as a whole.
Right, Sam.
Those quotes are regarding department heads. Just for clarity, the town solicitor isn't a department head. It's a contract, an independent contractor. So it's not fair to say that this is the person would feel the same way about this. But I do think it depends on honestly how many we get. If we get a lot, I would say maybe over 5, that would feel a little, I think, overwhelming for the council to discuss every single one. So then I would want to ask for the help of town staff. But if we have, I think, less than 5, then there's no reason why we can't have individual interviews with them.
Karen, how many do we have so far?
As of right now, we don't.
For the solicitor's position,
Open until Friday.
Hmm.
I would put the number at 10. If we had more than 10 applicants. Probably won't, but I'm sure I could handle looking at 10 resumes and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this is a tough time of year for this as well. I think this past week, you know, Christmas week, between Christmas and New Year's, you weren't gonna get any in, so I think it's gonna be this week when we will see them.
So why don't we extend the date?
Yeah,
yeah,
If we need to, we will.
Yeah.
If we don't get any, if you wanna set a number, or if you just wanna say, you know, if you're not satisfied with what you've got after Friday, we extend it.
I'd like to preempt it. I don't want it to make it look like we saw who applied and then we changed our mind and extended it. I think it would be a good idea because of the holidays to preempt this and extend it to January 15th. I don't know
Yeah,
how
I
anyone
agree.
else
I agree.
feels
It's
about
been
it.
very busy for everybody.
What day of the week is that?
Monday.
Monday. Sorry, sorry.
Monday.
Yeah, I'm just looking at other stuff too. Because we have a council meeting the following day, so I may as well give them 2 more weeks, the 19th.
Yeah, I would feel comfortable with that, the 19th, because there's a lot going on. On the 16th, we're gonna have Charo in here on the 16th too.
All right, do we have a motion then? Does somebody want to make?
How we're gonna discuss it
Oh,
in executive session?
Well, executive session is normally if it's a current town hall employee. But with a new employee, we don't specifically have to go into executive session with it. Because I know Grants and Charlestown, they conduct their interviews in open session.
I feel it would be more better to discuss it in executive session. I don't feel that the public. Yes, Karen.
Under the Attorney General's interpretation of the Open Meetings Act, you can conduct interviews with potential employees in executive session. What you can't do in executive session is discuss the logistics of how you're gonna do the hiring. If you were to want to have a discussion about the schedule for interviews, for instance, you would have to do that in public. But you can, if you want to, discuss job performance, resumes, stuff like that with each individual candidate in executive session.
Right.
You have to follow the regular rules for executive session. You would have to notify the person in advance that an executive session was planned and that person could choose to have the session at an open meeting instead of a closed.
I just feel discussing job performance and, personal items and if one of these lawyers, attorneys, law firms, et cetera, is employed by another town or city, I just feel that doing this in executive session would be the best choice.
I like that choice also.
So we have a motion to move it to the 19th. No, you didn't? No? Okay.
Make a motion to extend it to the 19th of January for RFP apps.
Second,
Any further discussion?
Not on that.
Okay, huh? How do you-
aye,
Aye.
Aye.
And I
Mr.
make
President?
make a motion.
Just, I just want to say, like, I think that it would be beneficial just to go into executive session because we're talking about professionals. And we want to be able to have candid discussions. So that was just my input.
Yeah, I
I think it
think,
makes sense.
yeah, I think it makes sense to go into an executive session. It just, it allows us to focus on the business at hand, and we definitely need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if
That's-
you,
That's the consensus. I agree with that. So make a motion that we discuss once we get the applications and resumes. Once we conduct the interviews, we conduct an executive session.
Second.
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye,
Aye.
okay. Any,
and the only other thing I wanted to mention is, I didn't put anything on the agenda about the Public Works Director interview process. I know you all tried to kind of hammer out a process for hiring both department level and non-department level positions, and there was really no consensus reached. So I'm thinking that if someone wants to do something differently, maybe you put it on the agenda for the next meeting, or you put it on the next agenda. Otherwise, I'll do what I've always done.
my own self, as someone who has served 3 terms on the council, I never once interacted with the Department of Public Works Director, but you do every day. You do every day. I feel that if you make a recommendation to us, unless we have some incredibly abnormal reason to say no, I feel that we should rely on your recommendations. That's my feeling. I guess throwing that out there means that it's open for discussion.
Not on the agenda. I'd be cautious.
Okay.
She did tell us if we wanted to discuss it, that we should put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Yep.
So I guess I'll wait to do that. I made my comment. I probably shouldn't have.
Aaron, can you please put that on the for the next council meeting, please? Just the RFP has closed.
Looking for the public, yeah.
How many applications?
No. Mr. President, point of order.
It's not on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't.
Yes, that.
I couldn't even, I shouldn't even been said what I said.
Okay, put on the agenda for the next meeting, please. Aaron.
Okay, appointments and resignations, discussion and consideration of Skylar Maria Machado for appointment to the Dog Park Committee with a term expiring January 31st, 2026.
You here today?
Several non-identifiable participants on Zoom. So Skylar, if you are one of iPad, iPhone resident, Richmond resident, could you raise your hand so I can give you permissions?
Oh, nice.
Hi,
Hey, how are you?
good, how are you?
Great.
Now she's up.
Good evening, how are you?
Wonderful, how are you?
Nice to finally meet you.
Thank you, you as well.
So what, Mr. President, so what brings your interest to the Dog Park Committee?
Well, I myself love dogs. I have 2 of my own. I moved to Richmond about 3 years ago, and my idea for my property was to make a dog park, but then I read about it in the paper, so I figured why not work with what you guys have now?
Awesome. Any further questions?
Mr. President,
Yes.
motion to approve Skylar's application.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome, good luck.
Thank you.
Discussion and consideration of Alexis Renee Shenfield for appointment to the Recreation Commission with a term expiring January 31st, 2025.
Here.
She is.
Hello?
Hey, how are you?
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Tell us about yourself.
So I'm kind of a recent business owner in Richmond. I am looking to not only improve it business wise, but for all the homeowners around the area. So that's kind of why I've piqued interest in being part of the recreation committee.
Oh, excellent. You have children?
I do not.
So this would be a great intro for you, for kids.
We could not push our volunteers to have children.
Not right now, but
All right, so, Mr. President,
Yes.
motion to approve Alexis Shenfield to the Recreation Commission.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
congrats.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Welcome. Next is a discussion and consideration of Brian LeBeau resignation from the EDC with,
Mr. President, motion to accept.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Discussion and consideration of Louise Dinsmore resignation from the EDC.
Move to
President,
approve.
motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Did we get a second on
Second
that? And discussion?
Oh,
You want to discuss it?
Yeah, I have something I'd like to say real quick.
okay.
Overall, I find this letter to be confirmation that the author never intended on working collaboratively with myself or others named and blamed. Specifically, it states that having a workshop and reviewing the comp plan was a good idea, but it was a bad idea because it came from me. It also shows it was an effort to work with President Trimmer up until he didn't do exactly what he was told. Ms. Dinsmore is entitled to her opinion about me, and I'm not going to take that away from her, but I'd like to remind everyone that the EDC letter dated 11/10/2023 acknowledged the service and unwavering dedication of myself and Councilor Colasanti. After the EDC presentation, I asked some questions via email, I offered feedback, and that's available in their minutes. And after the EDC meetings, I was thanked by multiple members for my input. And for what it's worth, I attend all other commission and committee meetings periodically to check in, offer feedback, and see if there's anything they need help with. Related to the recommendation from the planning board, it stated that one of the reasons the EDC didn't want to do this was because they thought the outreach was better coming from the town. And I think it's important for our board and commission members to understand that they are the town. When you're on a board, you're an appointed official. You're a representative of the town serving the public. And that may come with public feedback, praise, and unfortunately criticism. I think it's clear to see when that feedback is given in good faith and when that feedback is given to discredit and blame others instead of working towards solutions and progress. That being said, there's now 3 vacancies with a potential 4th on the EDC, leaving room for new volunteers. Our boards and commissions work well in their service to the town. They're well-oiled machines, and that shows in their achievements. So I really want to invite all residents to consider becoming a volunteer. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir.
In follow-up to Ms. Wilcox's discussion, I wanted to add some context as well to the attached letter to this. I think despite the negative narrative that's attached to that item, I wanted to applaud the efforts of the town council and the town employees who worked together to deliver for Richmond. The council helped the town to make progress. The human services director is connecting residents to services they need and facilitating the Learn 365 grant. Several strong businesses were just awarding grants. Council worked with the planning board to help guide business growth while protecting the health and infrastructure of Richmond. You're making good progress on the roads, and you've had important discussions about fair and equitable practices in hiring and acquisition. Despite the continued criticisms against Council Wilcox, as she discussed, she's played a strong role in building a functional council. Wilcox in particular stayed engaged on the topic of economic development by attending the EDC meetings and bringing back their notes to the council. This participation was open and honest and in no way reflects the critical and accusational characterization proposed by Louise Dinsmore in her 6-page resignation letter. Overall, Dinsmore makes the insinuation that by diverting from her agenda, the town council has been fractured and disagreeable. It's unfortunately become typical for political candidates to use grievances and dissatisfaction in a campaign, but it's impossible to govern and lead in that manner. Who benefits when the community leaders perpetuate a negative narrative? Under the guise of fiscal conservation, Dinsmore spearheaded a political wrecking ball of austerity measures that would cause damage to Richmond. Investing less in our local economy is truly harmful and to those who need it the most. Dinsmore once again cites the resignation of developer Bill McIntosh, apparently to repeat his criticism of a counselor. I'm more interested in his part on the letter that states that Richmond needs to triple our commercial tax income from 1 million to 3 million in order to flatten the taxes in town. With all the talk of economic development, why have we still not addressed this calculus? It's not clear the type of growth is even possible or what kind of change would be needed to Richmond's infrastructure to make that happen. It'd be literally impossible to address all of the other accusations in the resignation letter. It's by design. When one person floods the zone, it stalls true conversation and critical thinking. I'm grateful to see you on the council tonight. However, there's 2 minor points in Dinsmore's letter that are also worth pointing out. First, Dinsmore treats reports of potential open meeting act violations and ethical violations as some kind of personal attack. They're not. It's an important and normal part of government functions. That's how we, the residents of Richmond, hold our elected officials accountable to behave in a moral and lawful manner. As Dinsmore did point out in her letter, it's important to attach accountability to responsibility, and town councils are no less immune to the need to be accountable for their actions to anyone else. Second, Dinsmore condemns the use of social media by other outlets by her political opponents in the resignation letter, as well highlighting that she herself is a font of misinformation, culture war talking points, and attacks against political opponents on social media. We've seen over the last year that while it's possible to control attention with theatrics and empty promises, it is not possible to govern that way. I've seen this town council, as well as most of the other boards and committees in town, end this year on a high note in terms of cooperation and productive policy. Everyone doesn't always agree, but they're having productive discussion and debate, and in the end, we're seeing results that are best for Richmond. I look forward to what the Richmond government will do for Richmond.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Name for the record, please.
Chris Kona.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion or comment? That being said, we're gonna move on to licenses.
Or discussion, J2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
We have a motion on the floor that we haven't voted on.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I made the motion to accept her resignation.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Licenses.
Move to approve in accordance with section 42 dash
Where are we? What about 2, J2?
licenses.
Item number I.
But why are we going there rather than finishing this, the new business?
Because we're not in new
We're not in
business
new
license
business
yet
yet.
before new
License
business.
Okay,
I comes.
Yeah, make a motion in accordance with section 42-46-6 B. The council will take action in consideration of renewal application, Zampini Auto for a secondhand dealer in used metals.
Second.
All those in favor?
aye.
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 Moving on to new business. Discussion and consideration of Richmond financial referendum meeting dates.
Move to approve June 3rd, 2024.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next, we need to move on.
Motion to approve scheduling of first public hearing of budget proposed April 16th, 6 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Move to approve the scheduling of the second polling hearing, public hearing, excuse me, on the budget proposed for May 7th at 6 o'clock p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Right. Discussion and consideration of scheduling ethics training for the town of Richmond proposed for January 30th, 2024 at 5 p.m. or February 13th, 2024 at 5 p.m.
Mr. President,
I'm kind of thinking January would be my choice, but
well, I wouldn't go with January 30th because there's a school budget workshop on February 13th at 7. And I don't know how long the ethics training will take.
Approximately over an hour.
okay, so
That's voluntary, not.
So
Highly suggest.
State Rhode Island athletes reached out to me and highly suggested Richmond training.
I wonder why.
so that being said, how's January 30th for looking for everyone here? All right, so
Motion to approve January 30th, 2024.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All boards will be invited via Zoom component, because we are limited with space. So that-
President move to file communication petitions and proclamations A, B, C, and D.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
President move to adjourn.
All right, that's a first and a second.
Yeah, really.
How do you vote?
Aye.
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 Did you get it done in 30 minutes?
36 minutes.